welcome back. And a very important conversation that we're moving into next, which is mental health in the workplace. It is actually October 10th, which is World Mental Health Day, and we have with us government representatives and the Mental Health Association with us to talk more about this topic. We have Juliet Simmos, who is a counselor with the Mental Health Unit of the Ministry of Health. We have Shawn Vargas, who is the coordinator for the Employee Assistance Program with the Ministry of Public Service. And we have Esquivel, who is the Secretary for the Mental Health Association. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
And thank you for being here. Okay. So, today is World Mental Health Day, and your very specific theme is looking at mental health in the workplace. Can we have a bit of an introduction as to how these two are tied together for those who actually need the explanation?
Could I just say that the theme is chosen by the World Federation of Mental Health.
Yes.
So the theme wasn't chosen in Belize.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we every year we take the theme that they suggest. And then I'll let other people say how it affects Belize.
Let's start with you, Juliet.
All right. Keep in mind, due to globalization, mental health in the workplace has become a priority because there's so much work-related stress these days, and stress will definitely affect your mental health. And it goes as far as to depression and anxiety. Well, those are the most common ones we would find in the workplace. And without a happy workplace, you know,
It's not a healthy workplace.
it's not a healthy workplace. So.
I'm really glad that you mentioned the common ones, because when it comes to mental health, there is an array of different things that people experience, and I know a lot of people, a lot of friends that I've had who experience these illnesses. They go to work and they're very afraid to say something, or they feel like it's negated because it's not very common. Like, for instance, if you have PMDD or if you have some other kind of social anxiety. Talk to us about how the types of mental illness that people are able to, that people have talked about that affects them within the workplace.
Well, first I want to tell you that people don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
Because of the stigma, because of the discrimination.
Yeah.
So people are, you know, concealing their illness because they're afraid of these things.
Yeah.
So what the team speaks specifically, you know, mental health in the workplace, because we want people to talk about it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a taboo anymore.
Right.
That is right. And can I say, at least with your role, Shawn, it shows that there is an interest in mental health within public service. Talk to us a bit about what you do.
The government of Belize is we're one of the biggest employers in the country, and the ministry side fit, and so it's been years now they've been working at actually bringing on a program to look at the mental health for public officers countrywide. And we, following the same aspect that Juliet explained, we looked at the needs for public officers, and we spoke of depression and anxiety, which is one of those are the ranking illnesses that we have seen within the public service, including alcoholism, some of the challenges within the public service. So the ministry side fit to ensure that public officers have access to mental health, good mental health, and the EAP program was developed. We launched in 2015, so we're relatively new. And 2015, to this point it's almost 3 years, so we're due for an evaluation, assessment of the program to see the functionality.
How big is the program? How many persons work with the program?
Well, thus far it's myself only in the unit. However, we have a cadre of 37 practitioners countrywide that service the program, and they service on weekends and after 5, so we're not restricted to that 8 to 5.
So you do more of a referral system
our
the public service.
Our system is referral with outside of the public service, and that's one of the key components with our program, because we have to look at the confidentiality aspect of it and building the credibility of the program.
Yes.
So we do referral outside of the public service.
Well, I actually wanted to, and I'm not sure that this would be your area of expertise, but maybe you can speak to it a little bit, Ms. Kathy, about the diagnosis part, because I'm not sure what it's like, what kind of, as it relates to the medicine of it, the diagnosis. I'm trying to be very, very careful with the words that I use, because I know it's a very sensitive topic, and I know that, but it's how far have we come in terms of getting people properly diagnosed?
At first, I want to say we appreciate that you're being careful with your choice of language, because that's one of the things that we ask people to be careful how they use the words. But regarding the diagnosis, more and more people are accessing the services through the mental health unit and through the EAP for public officers, no? And the mental health unit, usually we see people from the public. So yes, people are accessing our services more and more. So they're getting the diagnosis and they're receiving treatment. And that is what is important for us, for early treatment, early detection and early treatment, so that we could prevent the absenteeism from work.
Or someone struggling with not having the right redress to whatever it is they're trying to cope with.
Well, and also people feeling that they're alone. So from the Mental Health Association, our thrust is always public education. So we don't treat people. Although many of our members are counselors and mental health professionals, but we think it's important because, as you say, a lot of people don't ask for help because either they don't recognize that they need help or they're afraid of stigma and discrimination. So not only do people need to get professional help, professional diagnoses, but they need family support and work support. And so that's where getting out the message is important. That this person, it's as if, well, if you have cancer, you can't make it if you one going for treatment and nobody at home helping you. Well, with any illness, you need that support. So we need to educate people to look after themselves, but also to look after the people around them. And one of the important things is to know that if someone has a serious illness, you can't cure it. So with mental health issues, sometimes people don't take it seriously. Oh, you could just take a drink after work and you'll feel better, which is the wrong thing to do.
Get over it.
Or get over it, or whatever. So what we stress is what we call mental health first aid. That people around don't try to be a doctor, but they do try to guide people to getting the help they need.
I love that you said that, and it leads me to the question which I think I hear so often in the public. First of all, when someone shows signs or that perhaps they need a bit of an intervention or need to talk to someone or they don't have a support system, one of the first things that we hear so often is they don't know where to go or they don't know if we have trained professionals in the country. Let's discuss that. What is the level of coverage that we have in trained professionals to assist in mental health care?
We do have trained professionals. I think we were just discussing earlier about the pending new psychiatrists coming in. And but besides that, the psychiatric component, we do have professionals in this country, and a lot of individuals really don't know that, so they will make comments like those. We do, but people don't advertise their specialization, their roles, and we have practitioners who are attached to our program who have private offices and they don't advertise. They don't even put up signs because of the stigma. And the individuals, oh, you're going to that office, and we know what that office is all about. We had a challenge with the EAP program for that specifically, like, where will we seat this office? Because you know what, people come into the building, they know what you're going in there for, but you know what's happening there, but whatever is there, it's private, it's confidential. We offer professional service, so we do have trained professionals in this country. We have and for our program, we look detailed into the background so that we ensure that public officers are getting the help that is required.
And
Is
we
there a
have
registry?
We have private and public.
Yes.
So there's, as Juliet knows, there's a psychiatric nurse practitioner
Yeah.
in every district. And
At public clinics.
at public,
public
clinics.
clinics, yes.
And that person, if you don't want to go to that person, but that person would be able to guide you to private help.
That's
Private
right.
help.
A registry is something we'd like to work on, and in fact the Ministry of Health and the Mental Health Association has been discussing for a while, because we also have some concerns about people who advertise themselves as being a mental health practitioner.
And they don't have
we,
that
we would
competency.
like a system of registration
Or licensing.
and
License.
licensing.
Yes.
The Ministry
Yeah.
of Health
That's
doesn't offer.
something that I know the Ministry of Health is
Yeah.
working on.
Now, Juliet, if I could just say before you start to explain that we know the mental health focus in this country is one, as you pointed out, it's fairly new. And so what once upon a time what was a one-person unit has expanded as it goes along. How far are we from moving towards having persons register or license to become a mental health practitioner in this country?
But the Ministry of Health does have a certification process
Okay.
that you can be certified to practice. And many of the practitioners are using that, are getting that certification from the Ministry of Health. And it's not a license in such, but what the ministry does, they do the background check to make sure that that degree is genuine.
Yeah.
To acknowledge
Yes.
credibility.
Yeah. And then, people use that in their offices. So it's posted and people have it on their business card, their certification from the Ministry of Health.
Okay.
But then again, a lot of people also don't know about it. So it's something we also need to promote some more.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
if
we
I
do.
go to access a counselor, I should find out whether or not they've
And
been
then,
certified.
right, you
yeah.
definitely have the right to ask.
Yeah.
Yes, that if you're, recommended by the Ministry of Health and
Yeah.
so forth, definitely do that.
Okay. So that's also important that people can know that there are trained professionals.
Right.
First of all, the psychiatric nurse practitioners are at all public health
Definitely,
clinics
yes.
across the country. So you can get access there. They're private. There are other persons who still work public and private as well. Let me come back to you for a second, Shawn, because is the current assistance program voluntary? Because I want to talk about one specific unit. Let's talk about our police department. Let's talk about frontline persons, like even the fire department, who sometimes watch people burn inside a house. Is it something that is mandated that if a person experiences a very traumatic event, that they do have to at least have one further discussion before going back to work?
For us, it's voluntary because the way the program is designed, it is strictly voluntary. However, like police department per se, some units have internal policies that they would recommend. They would recommend that the officer would make an appointment, or I would make an appointment with the officer once there's a traumatic event. Especially, I think, within suicides in the police department. When one incident happened,
Yeah.
I think we saw quite a number of officers who self-referred.
Yeah.
And because this was promoted by the ACP, Miss Phillips. This was promoted by her. And so we would like to move to that point where if there is a line of fire or officers discharge a firearm while on duty, then that person would be recommended to go see the Office of the Employee Assistance Program so that we can look into further challenges or what happened with that officer, what they're feeling. Because imagine you're face to face with another person and that person gun snapped and you have to fire.
Yeah.
Or that person fired and you
Or just the
return fire.
level of death and grief
Right,
that
they-
we
Yes.
see on a daily basis. I think it would take a toll on any healthy
Individual,
person.
yes. So we're moving towards that, but we're a voluntary unit. So far we have seen over 330 public officers since we launched the program.
Okay.
So we're averaging over 100 a year. So that is very good.
Okay.
That is very good.
Can you talk to us about the ratios as it relates to gender? Because I know that when it comes to getting professional help, I know women would be more open.
And
to-
it's the same. We have
Yeah.
more female public officers accessing the EAP program than male public officers.
And do you think that's because of the need?
I always explain to people, like, it's within medicine it's the same thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Men go to the hospital
It's
like
not
when they're 3
until
days
they
away.
cut their foot off that
Yeah.
they go to the hospital.
Something
it's the
about the
same
way
thing.
we're socialized.
And I always, when I promote the program, I always try to explain to public officers that if you know there is a challenge, deal with the challenge now. Don't wait until that mole becomes a mountain,
Yeah.
and then it becomes extremely difficult to kind of curb the problem. So we make an effort.
But,
Go ahead.
but I can imagine that would be a challenge for even recognizing the symptoms within yourself, knowing that am I experiencing a mental health issue right now? Is this just me overreacting? How do you encourage people to recognize that you're going through something that's more than just a low period in your life?
We do analysis, we do an evaluation, we look at certain questions relating to what the person presents during the assessment, and based on that we don't diagnose, but more or less we would come, when I do a referral I say look around for this area, look at the depression in this area, look at isolative disorder. These are the things that I would ask practitioners to look at, because you come in presenting with one challenge, but during the assessment, you discover something else.
Right.
So it's within that realm. And I always explain, if you don't feel like your normal self, whatever that means to some people, then take a breather. Look around. What happened this morning? What happened last night? What are some of the challenges that you're facing?
Yeah.
And then you try to do a self-evaluation, a self-assessment.
So let's talk. Go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to add to what your question was what the person can see about themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also want to add what the employer can see in their staff and can also make the referral. So first thing though, if the employer sees that the staff is absent a lot, always coming in late, is isolated, is distracted, unkept. The afternoon fatigue is also one. Indecisive, a lot of these things that you know that is not normal for your staff.
Yeah.
You could, just call them in and see, check in with them is very important. But more important is keeping it confidential.
Right.
Yeah. Now I was gonna get into that because I think perhaps that's what we need to bring into the wider discussion. You know, if somebody trips and falls here, we'll all jump up and say, "Oh, are you okay? Check your knee, check your face," and it administer that what you were calling your first aid, right?
Right.
But if somebody goes through something and you have no idea and they start to exhibit signs, you don't always know how to approach it. And let's talk about some of the common things or signs that one may see or feel in the workplace that you can use as an indicator that you need a check-in. Right? You were starting with it, but I
Right.
think...
Yeah, but I think Juliet's point is that it's not only the person.
Yeah, it's really outsiders that you usually see
And
first.
it's self-interest. If you're an employer,
Yeah.
it's in your self-interest to have your employees working at an optimum level.
Definitely.
I must say, although the public service is further along, there are some other large companies that do have a public
program.
Employee.
assistance program. I know BEL does, and I think BTL does, not positive. But
DFC has
there are
some.
small employers as well, who obviously don't have a whole department.
Right.
But I think what Juliet was saying as well, it doesn't help if everybody jumps in.
yeah.
So it has to be the one person who keeps their eye open and confidentially.
Yeah.
So maybe
deals with
develop
it.
your own protocols within the workplace,
Right.
like Jamie, and I mean that's what they used to do in high school. The sensitive one, or the nice one, or the friendly one is the one who deals with any mental health issue. But I want to go back to what is, I can still hear my mother saying it. That's how I was taught about work ethics. Check your emotions at the door. When you enter work, it is only about work. Personal life stays outside. And we still have, I mean, barring the larger agencies, which have been more progressive in their employee programs, you have a lot of smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, where it's very much just based on the old school work ethics. You got to be at work in front of your computer 8 to 5 on your strict lunch break. You know, forget about picking up your kids if they're sick. When you come in, I don't want to deal with whatever happened at home. And they really simply have this expectation of robotic-like practices from their employees. But when we talk about mental health in the workplace, it's pretty much shattering that entire image of what a good employee is.
Yeah.
At least in the public service, we try not to
Yeah.
operate
Yeah,
that
But I'm
way.
just saying,
Definitely.
it exists. I hear people who are in, and it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't happen in larger organizations. I hear it more in like medium and small businesses where there's more control.
Yeah, but it's self-defeating.
Yeah.
Because, as I say, if your employees are not performing at their best,
Then your productivity
and you're
is
still paying them,
Yeah.
it's in your self-interest
Yes,
to try and help them.
definitely.
I mean, just a simple thing. I took a personal decision with my employees that I don't want people to tell me they were sick if they really just need a personal day.
Yeah.
So within reason, if you tell me I want to go on a school trip with my child, I will give you that as a personal day. I'll still pay you. I don't want you to come in the next
lie.
day and say I was sick.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you have to
Within
you have
limitations.
to but what I'm saying is it's not necessarily because I'm so kind.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of thing, your employees
Different
are more
level of impact.
productive.
Yes, and that is funny.
So I think what we have to persuade employers, because the bottom line is always important,
Yeah.
is it's in your best interest to look after the mental health of your
Yeah.
employees.
And I think that's
Happy employees are more productive.
Productive,
I don't think
definitely.
we can begin to cite all the studies all over the world that show that happy employees
Job
are
satisfaction.
productive.
yeah.
You know, there just is that disconnect in this. I mean, I think we're struggling with it on a larger scale in the society, and we're starting to see inroads where people are accessing mental health services. But now you're asking employers to acknowledge when somebody says, you know what, I really just can't come into work today because I'm not feeling well. Not sick, but because mentally I just can't perform the way I want to. Maybe, you know, I could be in a domestic violence, or maybe my child is facing bullying at school and I'm overwhelmed. It could be anything.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Yes, so we're asking him to be supportive, to show some compassion, and flexibility also is very important.
Yeah.
And I'm even asking a little bit more, that not just for your employee, but your staff might also be a caregiver for maybe an elderly parent with Alzheimer's, let's say. So even that, taking care of somebody else is emotionally draining and physically draining.
Yeah.
So you might want to express some
Compassion.
flexibility and compassion there.
Yeah.
If we can do it for breastfeeding mothers, we can definitely do it for somebody suffering with mental illness.
And what about burnout?
Well,
Burnout is considered a mental health.
Yeah.
definitely is. Definitely, we're not denying that.
And
in
the
any
signs
way.
of burnout, I mean, the amount of people who dread Monday, I feel like it's an epidemic across the country. I'm not serious, I'm just joking, please.
No, we love Mondays.
But it's Tuesday. But the burnout component, we've seen that, especially where there is conflict in the workplace. It's one of the signs when you see with burnout, and you would sit with the officers and talk about it. There's specific departments where you would see burnout
more.
Yeah.
where more, like the police department, you would see the burnout, especially during the September celebrations, and we have some high numbers for that for last month. And I think I contribute that one, alcoholism and burnout within that area. You know, you're tired, you sit down and you take that drink, and you don't know, you rest instead of you take a drink, you rest.
Yeah.
You rest. No, so that's one of the.
social workers have
Oh, yeah.
a
Social
Oh, yeah.
workers,
because
definitely.
again the trauma they have to meet, And so there are some programs to help social workers deal with the traumas that they are facing on a day-to-day basis, and the police, the BDF.
Yeah.
The social workers are really at that stage.
Yeah. So I think for that one, it's two-sided.
Yeah.
You have to take your self-care very seriously, because self-care is important.
Yeah.
And I think also the organization has to have a wellness program to help assist their staff.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad you brought up the topic of alcoholism, because I want to get into addiction in the workplace, because you have a lot of people who suffer from addiction, whether it be alcohol, sex, whatever it is, and they still function like normal.
Functioning.
They're very high
alcoholics,
functioning.
that's
So
all.
how do you address that as an employer, or even as a colleague of that person who's experiencing addiction?
The person has to admit first that is
Yeah.
the challenge that they're having. And I can say within the public service, we have very good middle managers and HODs who have identified some of these challenges within their workplace, and they're strong enough to call the individual up and call me in to go in to see the person, and to a point that we had sessions specific for departments looking at alcoholism. For that, we cannot tell an individual, well, at least that's not my practice, to tell an individual that you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's a process that we both have to work on together, because coming to that conclusion, it's not an
You can see
overnight.
signs, but
you
they
see
have to have
signs
the
and you will identify the
realization.
signs. One of my thing, we look at numbers. We calculate our consumption for the day or for the week, and you look at that and tell me, where do you classify yourself? If you're jumping half case within the first 3 days, that's more than 12 bottles of beer within the 3 days of the week. Monday, and you start Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
So by the end of the week on Sunday, you're at a case and a half or 2 cases. Like, come on,
Yeah.
register the numbers.
Yeah. So
But with any problem,
Right.
nobody can force you to help yourself until you recognize that you need to do something. So that's part of what the employee assistance is about.
yeah.
Getting people to a stage where they say, yeah, you know, this isn't normal. I need to do something about it.
So I think this is such a great example. I mean, it's been needed for so long. It's wonderful that there's finally an initiative that will address the mental health concerns of people who are in public service. But let's talk to a broader audience and employers across the country. What are some of the suggestions for what we call the low-hanging fruit? You know, perhaps I own a shop, right? And I have 15 employees, and I don't have any knowledge of mental health issues, or, but I want to start. It could be any size staff. What are some of the small actions people can take within their workplace to encourage good mental health in the workplace?
Well, first I want to talk to the resource managers that they can educate themselves first.
Yeah.
They need to
HR.
know, the HR managers need to educate themselves more about mental illness and mental health. And from there, you can, talk to your staff. You don't need to wait for an awareness day like today. You don't need to wait for Suicide Prevention Day or World Schizophrenia Day. None of these days you need to wait for us to promote. You could start the discussion, especially in small establishments like that.
Yeah.
Breakfast together and let's talk about one of these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So start the discussion right there, and you'll open up the avenue for people to talk about, to share their own story. And when you share your own story, you're empowering yourself so much, and you're helping all the others out there who are suffering as well.
And don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
How did you establish it within your own business? Removing your M.H cap for a second. Yeah.
well, I don't know if I have, but I mean, there are certain steps that you take. They don't have to be formal. Just being aware is important, and making other people aware. So I think it's like everything else. I mean, when they have HIV testing day, employers are encouraged to tell their employees, yes, you have time off to go and get tested. So it's just one of the many things that we ask employers to do, because if you think about it, most people spend more time with their employers than they do with their families.
That's right.
And so the employers, in a way, are in the front line.
Yep.
So we're asking them, and we're telling them not because we want you to be a good person, but because it's in your best interest. But it's always good to, you know, you can appeal to people's better angels, and that's good. But you also have to be realistic that the employer has a lot of stress themselves. Can I pay the bank this week? Oh, this shipment is late, or this is... So the employer is also under stress and needs to look after their own mental health. I mean, you can't just be concerned with everyone else. But if you say, look, it will make your life much easier if you do this, I think it encourages people to be involved.
And from your experience, Shawn, in working with middle managers and kind of building that same, because you could have had a program that nobody bought into, but it means that you had to speak with persons who will help to identify and refer.
Yeah, we recently met with middle managers, I think about a couple of weeks ago, and reiterated the program and shared some of the success with them because of their input into the program, because they are the main referral source. Public officers can refer themselves to the program, but they also, the referral component is that it has to be from supervisor to the Ministry of Public Service. So we encourage them to continue in terms of looking the observation component, where you see something is wrong with the officer, where you believe that there's a challenge, you can talk to that person.
And very important, following identifying is the approach. Provide some skills for persons who say, okay, well, if I start to see somebody's having something disturbing them, what do I say without seeming nosy or rude, or insensitive,
Indeed.
What's the approach? What's the best recommended approach we can give?
Well, you want to take that one?
Well, I think it starts before that. What is the spirit and the moral among your staff? How can you guys get along and have these conversations? What do you do to build that? To build that trust among your employees? So I think that's where it should start. And then you will notice things about each other much better and be able to start that conversation.
Comfort level is important.
Right.
And I think that's a really important topic, because I've never felt comfortable in any workplace that I've been in. And I think,
But I told you, Jamie, you're suffering from some mental illness.
I would say bye. Goodbye, do not. But I think that's a very important, because there's the
relationship.
There's a lack of camaraderie within workplaces nowadays, and I think it's because people are so distrusting. There's no environment created that's
There's
conducive.
not a wellness approach. So we spoke to employers, we spoke about the sensitivity, but let's get back to how we're celebrating to keep the message alive. And today is World Mental Health Day. We want to remind people of that, but what are some of the activities that are lined up?
Okay, I have my list.
Yes.
Well, today at 9 o'clock, we're going to have an opening ceremony for World Mental Health Day. It's in conjunction with Ministry of Health, and we're having it at the Welcome Resource Center, which is a center that we've discussed often, which helps to look after the needs of the homeless and mentally ill of Belize City. And we're going to have it there, and our guest speaker is Honorable Laura Longsworth, Speaker of the House, a nurse, and she obviously has been in contact with large numbers of employees. So she's going to be our guest speaker, and that's at 9 this morning. The Mental Health Association has a speech competition every year for high schools, and we're going to be having that again this year on the 13th, this Friday, right here. We have it at SJC Chapel, and we have 6, 7, 8 high school students from different schools, and they are given a sub-theme of the theme. So they are each going to talk between 5 and 8 minutes on their topic. Which this year it's mental health in the workplace. So one might be talking about it within a school, one might be talking about it within a company, within BDF, whatever. So, and the level of performance that these young people have given in the past is really amazing. So they will be doing that, and of course all their classmates come to cheer them on. And so one of the reasons we do the speech competition is because we're trying to get the message out to young people. And young people don't listen to old people, and I understand why not. I mean, you know,
they listen to their friends.
We're boring, but they listen to their friends. So if we have a competition, they're listening to their friends. So that's the speech competition. And then every year we have an annual banquet, and this year it's on the 21st. And if you want tickets, I still have a few. And at this banquet, what I think is special about it is that we also invite some mental health consumers. So we will have a group coming down from Palm Center, and they're all dressed in their finery. And often you don't know who is who. We also have some other participants, and everyone comes and we all sit together. And we hope that it dilutes the discrimination and stigma. And the proceeds go towards the Welcome Center. And this year it's in honor of the late Jose Pot, who helped at the center a lot and who was quite open about his own battles with some mental health issues. And so we're very pleased that his widow and family members are helping us with that. We're going to be sponsoring a film competition for high schools and tertiary, and we're going to be launching that. That won't be until February, but we're going to be launching the idea for young people to produce little videos, YouTube type videos. And we're going to be screening, this isn't till November, but we're going to be screening a film from Costa Rica. And the theme is how suicide affects the family of the suicidee. And so again, we'll be advertising that. So
So quite a bit coming up. Starting off with your ceremony this morning, your banquet on the 21st, and your speech competition on the 30th. And let's just leave some information for persons who perhaps want to refer someone, or someone who at home is saying, I need or I want to talk to somebody. Where can they go? Where should they go?
Well, we have clinics in all districts. Treatment, counseling is there, and it's all free of cost, of course. In Belize City, it's Cleopatra Health Center and Port Loyola Health Center. In your districts, you know it's attached to the hospitals. So.
All right. So simply go in and ask to speak to a mental health professional or practitioner, and they will be able to guide you from there. Thank you so much for being here. We hope that people have learned quite a bit in this conversation, and of course that they will make their own little changes in how they interact with other people as a result. Thank you.
Thank you too.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to a new organization called Wings of Mind. Stay tuned.